Well, welcome back for the final segment of our wonderful day. This has been great.
Yeah.
David McCullough won 2 Pulitzer Prizes for the biographies of John Adams and Harry Truman. And he says the job of a historian and a biographer is to make the present real, to make their present real to the future, to make their present real to the future. That's what we do. That's what we do when we're telling stories. That's what we do when we're researching them. That's what we do in general. We may not think of ourselves as historians. A lot of people are afraid of history, but that's what we're doing. And so our final speaker of the afternoon, Dr. Mason Skip, is an author and a historian. He's the senior pastor of historic West Mitchell Christian Methodist Episcopal Church in Atlanta, and he's also serving as the interim president of ITC. He holds a degree from Morris Brown College. We share that distinction, although I went in the days when many years ago, but I set the path for you to go.
Thank you.
Atlanta University, now Clark Atlanta, and ITC. He's a seasoned educator with over 30 years of experience as a professor of history, as a college archivist, director and dean of students, and a vice president of student services. He was also the former dean of library and museum service and assistant professor of African American history and religion at Voorhees College in Denmark, South Carolina. He's the author of numerous books, and I saw someone getting an autograph this afternoon, including Black Atlanta in the Roaring '20s, Black Entertainment in Atlanta, African American Life in DeKalb County, Politics, Law, and Civil Rights in Atlanta, and Black American Series, East Point, Georgia. He's also curated major exhibitions. Dr. Mason is an avid genealogist, and he enjoys reading, traveling both locally and internationally, including Africa, collecting art, Black memorabilia, photographs, listening to music, and researching his family history. He's the founder of the Skip Mason Vanishing Black Atlanta Facebook page with over 65,000 members. So with all that, I'd like you to welcome him. Come on up, please.
Thank you. Thank you. We who have been called to research our African American family history are a peculiar kind of people. Yeah. Some of us see us as weird. We dig in archives, we pore over records. We chase broken lines and silence names. We collect documents, dates, fragments, and memories. We visit family, asking the questions nobody ever asked. We stay up late on our computers, cross-referencing, praying, and piecing together what was never meant to survive. We spit in tubes and wait on science to catch up with the spit. We do this work because absence bothers us, because erased stories disturb us, yes, because we believe our ancestors matter. We are memory keepers, name callers, truth seekers, bridge builders between the living and the dead. Thank God for us. For without us, too many stories would remain untold. Too many names unspoken, and too much truth left buried. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. What a joy and a delight to be with you this afternoon. I am honored to be back at the Georgia Department of Archives and History and with ARCS as well, and other friends and supporters who have gathered here. In fact, I understand some of you have been here for the last 2 days or so. You are a strange kind of beast. And when they told me that my presentation, which is the final presentation, most worthy elder, I said, nobody's going to be here at 2:30 on a Saturday afternoon for a closing speech. But Robin, I'm here. And I'm glad to be here, and I see so many friends sitting way back in the back, classmates from Morris Brown and Therrell High School, my high school, and many of you that I don't know, but I have met and am grateful that our paths cross today. So I am mindful of the time, and I know that you have received a lot of information. Miss Stephanie, where are you? I sat into 30 minutes of your exquisite presentation and I was worn out and exhausted. I had to get up and leave. I couldn't take it anymore. I said, if I see another cluster, I'm going to scream. But you have to know what cluster is. In order to do that, I brought my own concoction of tea, some burdock root and some mulberry tea and some and I cannot, Sharon. Thank you, my dear. Can you pass that up, please? I just need to have my special drink near me. My church members, when they see me walk in church with that, let me meet you halfway. It's still a little bit. So when my church members see me with this, they say, Pastor, what's in it? I said, none of your business, but it helps me to preach. And so, let me.
Oh, yeah.
Got to put it back on full screen. 1 second. Robin, I may need your help. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're good. So listen, glad to be here. The first 10 minutes, I just want to run through a few slides before I get into my presentation today, which talks about, how DNA restores memory and reclaim identity, reframes African-American family history, and most importantly, it is reframing our narrative as well. So I've entitled it Encoded in Us. We're living now in a time where modern technology is the order of the day. You can't fight it. It is all around you. AI and Gemini and ChatGPT. Someone asked me, who asked me just a few minutes ago, how did I create this collage? On ChatGPT. A few days ago, I created a collage on caricatures on ChatGPT, and I posted it on my Facebook page. And by the end of the day, over 300 people had created their own. ChatGPT owes me some money. It was amazing that this technology is such that it could take family photos, and I gave the prompt of what I wanted it to do, and that was to be surrounded by my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and this is what it came up with, and not too bad of a resemblance of me, Reverend Terry, so I like it, and ChatGPT is here to stay. That's another whole workshop and session in itself. It is amazing. So what I'm doing is creating, and it's not in this presentation, I'm creating family photos, portraits of my family members together who never had a family portrait taken before. And it's amazing. Let me see. Black ancestors matter. You know that. That's why you're here. That's why you have been called. All ancestors matter, but specifically right now in this moment and in this space, Black ancestors matter. I've been around for a long, long time. Is that Connie in the back? Wonder who wrote this article when I was a senior at Morris Brown College in 1984. I did not know that Connie would be here today. This was the first time that I had ever been published in the Atlanta Journal and Constitution. This was before social media, before cell phones. This was when somebody got up early and delivered your paper to your door, or you went to find it. And so When this particular article hit the paper, I tell you, I thought I was somebody. I was in the AJC. What I had done was I had collected pictures of my family and created an exhibit entitled My Family. The exhibit was at Morris Brown College. And Connie wrote an article that I still cherish, and I'm holding a photo of my great-great-great-grandmother. I did not know, could not have imagined at that time what my life would have been like, and the passion would continue even until this day. Even with all the degrees in the world, you remain miseducated until you learn the true history of your African ancestors. Yes. We are the grandchildren, the descendants of the slaves. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams. Mm-hmm. But we were separated. Family members walked for miles to find family members separated during slavery. If you have not read this book, Help Me Find My People, it is a classic book, and I'll tell you the name of the author when I can remember the name of the author. But Help Me Find My People, and it's filled with stories of people's attempt after the Civil War and after emancipation to find their family. It was doing what we're doing now with DNA. Every person of African descent should know their family history. Yeah. Genealogy cultivates personal pride, documents family histories, contributes to the world historical record. I'm simply trying to sum up what all you have heard and learned and what has been poured in your spirit these last 3 days. Once you know who you are, you don't have to worry anymore, says 𝘔𝘕𝘈. Why am I doing this research? One, who am I? What am I looking for? Where do I start my research for those of you who are beginners? When do I get tested? And again, why am I doing this? Why? Because you have been chosen. You're the ones that have been called. So you know about all of the documentation that is out there. You know how to get started. I'm not going to be redundant and repeating information that has already been taught or shared, collecting oral histories from living relatives. Imagine some 30, 40 years ago when Connie wrote the article, if I had had a cell phone as I traveled throughout Georgia and Florida, meeting family members for the first time, not connected through DNA, but through oral history. Imagine if I would have been able to record them and take pictures of them and to document my family. Those of you who are researching know that you have looked for previous family works, collections, family albums, Bibles, etc. You've interviewed relatives and you've collected documents, birth certificates for those that are available, census records, you've gone through that. The census records, of course, at 1870 is the one that leads us to a brick wall, but I say no longer. That brick wall can be broken. Marriage licenses, draft registration cards, primary source material that are located at your courthouses and government centers, printed articles, many records, newspapers, migration patterns, all of these things that we looked at prior to DNA, and then all of the collateral relatives, aunts and uncles and cousins, not just your direct ancestors, increase the possibility of finding additional stories. And what about this old cousin finder chart that helps us to figure out how are we related? And what cousin are you? And what is a second cousin twice removed? And what is a third cousin once removed? Death certificates provide crucial information about your family, funeral home, place of burial. Sometimes it reveals that heartfelt maiden name of a female, and sometimes it doesn't. Church records, genealogy, cemetery research. I love strolling through cemeteries. My children say they are now old enough where they are not forced to have to go through cemetery with me any longer as we drive down the back roads of Georgia and Florida. Now you have Find a Grave. Yeah. Bam, just like that. You know, where someone has gone through and recorded the names of those. Now we're able to find graves unmarked, as my grandmother's grave was unmarked for almost 35 years. but we knew the location, and so we finally placed a headstone there. My son standing reluctantly staring down at somebody's grave. Funeral programs, newspapers, and obituaries, and now you have collections, books, and all. I could even get to the second floor today without walking by. In my good conscience, I could not pass by the table. I had to stop. And I ended up purchasing 2 books, not planned, not a part of the budget today, but 2 ladies had poured their hearts into researching their family histories. And I wanted to add the books to the collection. Now, brick walls, we know about brick walls. You know better than anyone, and I don't need to spend a whole lot of time with that. The changing of surnames is so prevalent. You know, and the spelling of surnames as well. And there's one part of a family that swears that they're not related to another side of the family just because of one letter. I'm talking to somebody and because of one letter, but they're not a part of our family. This is how we've always, okay? But they taking that DNA test and bam, you are related. The family. Voter registration lists proved to be an important document and one of great pride, particularly when you were able to find that one of your ancestors, particularly a male ancestor, registered to vote shortly after emancipation and took the oath of allegiance, as I found with my great-great-great-grandfather, whose X marks this particular document. School records, colleges and universities, yearbooks, school census, and I'll say Ancestry has done a great job in scanning and going through a lot of it. Have any of you all find anybody using the yearbooks on Ancestry? If not, that's a great source and a great tool to use. Beyond 1870, reaching your African American, researching your African American ancestors can be more difficult at this point. After emancipation, most African Americans, persons were included in general records, but now we come to this brick wall. Any of you had to research the enslavers, those that owned your family. As I found this photo on the right of the home of the family that owned my family, and the house is still standing. And I've been trying to purchase the house, but no luck yet. But I'm not giving up on that as well. And right behind is the cemetery of the enslavers' family as well. Very quickly, a cemetery, a graveyard was discovered in Macon, Georgia, in about the area where my ancestors lived. They were getting ready to widen the highway, and DOT came, and bless his heart, the white gentleman that lived there, Harry Lucas, he said, well, what about the old slave cemetery? And so when you alert DOT that there is a cemetery, they have to stop everything. Right. And so they went back in, they did some surveying, they cleared the land, they brought cadaver dolls, I was there. They discovered 107 graves. 107 graves. And then the graves were excavated. I took the family down for a reunion as they were meticulously excavating the graves. They took the remains and they did research. We did DNA testing and matched several of our family members. And then we reinterred those graves, those bodies into another grave at a cemetery just a few feet up from where the original was, out of the way of Department of Transportation. Excerpts from wills. Wills are important. Land probate records. How many of you have gone to the courthouse and actually gone through? Those are some absolutely amazing records to use if you have used them, where you can find the bill of sales, where you see your ancestors listed with the cattle, the tools, the agriculture. Newspapers would advertise estate sales, sale of slaves. Georgia, if your family's from Georgia, they have a digital site that will take you to that. You got to study maps, you got to study geography because family members tend to move, together, moving sometimes looking for better work, better farmland. And now we come to DNA testing. All kinds of DNA testing we have now, including Ancestry, AfricanAncestry.com, 23andMe, MyHeritage, and the list goes on and on. So it is fitting that we gather here today at a place devoted to records preservation. And I really am honored to be back again to stand with you in this sacred space of record, memory, and preservations. Archives are where we come looking for proof, names, dates, documents, and evidence that says we are here. But for African Americans, archives have always been complicated spaces because while archives preserves memory, they also reveal absence, missing names, broken family lines, silence where stories should be. And so I want to talk for you for a few minutes about another archive, the one that is beneath our skin. Because long before there were courthouses, census takers, birth certificates, or plantation ledgers, there was DNA. And when the written archive failed us, the body remembered. Archives exist because memory matters. They remind us that history is not rumor, it is evidence. But for many of us, and particularly African Americans, archives often tell a partial story. Names are missing, families disappear, lines are broken. But what happens when the record is silent? What happens when the path is obscured? And so I want to talk about this other archive, the one that is beneath our skin. African American genealogy begins with rupture. Enslavement was not simply an economic system, it was a genealogical assault. Families were sold apart, renamed, reduced to property, recorded without surnames, counted but not known. How many of you have stared at the 1850 and 1860 slave inhabitants record, looking at the columns of ages and looking at the column of the sex, and just wondering for a moment, why could they have not put the name by that particular person? For many of us, African Americans, the family record does not fade gently. It ends 1870. That census where formerly enslaved people appear for the very first time. Before that, there is silence unless you're able to break the wall. But even when government refused to write us down, let me be spiritual for a moment. God never forgot the record. That's right. Our ancestors resisted erasure through all history. Stories that have been passed down from generation to another generation. Now, some stories are embedded a little bit more. Some stories are exaggerated over a period of time. The stories have changed tremendously. People have added to the story, and they've created wonderful narratives that may not all necessarily be true. But it is great to have some stories, family Bibles, memory passed down at kitchen tables. I'm reminded when I went to Jacksonville in 1983 on this journey to research my family history, and my great uncle, who was quite a character, Uncle Joe, had on a little smoking jacket. He had worked at country clubs and had saved his money well, and he was as refined as all could get. And he opened the door with no pants on and a smoking jacket and said, "Come sit down at the table." I sat down at the table. And he began to tell me stories that I would not have gotten. I wanted to paint that picture for you. You can see an 80-year-old man in a smoking jacket with no pants on, trying to tell me the history of my family. Thank God for those characters in the family as well. How do you recover what history refused to preserve? For many African Americans, as we have stated, they say we don't know where we come from. Our history starts in slavery. There's no point in looking. Kim, why do you want to know all of this? Why are you asking all of these questions? But that narrative is not accidental. It is a residue of a system designed to erase lineage. And yet, African Americans have always resisted that erasure. How do you prove that? Well, now, after all of the research that you've done, all of the documents that you collected, the hundreds of notebooks that you have assembled and collected, the tapes, the oral history, now DNA has entered. Second. DNA has now entered the conversation. Many of you were reluctant initially. Some of you are still reluctant because you think the government is going to take your DNA and clone you. Who wants to clone you? Who wants to clone you? All of these conspiracy theories and all of that. No, I don't want to do this because I don't know what is the government doing right now. They're about to take it a spit, okay? So whatever they need to know, they already have. All right, they got all of your information. All right, so you might well go and spit in that tube and help us out, those who are trying to discover. This is where DNA enters, not as a novelty, but it is a disruptive force. DNA is not just a science, it is evidence. It is an archive that was never burned to the ground like the 1890 census records. Never sold, never renamed. Inside our DNA are migration patterns, kinship networks, genetic cousins, as Stephanie shared with you, we never knew existed. African regions and people whose names were stripped away, but not erased. DNA does not give us everything, but it gives us connection. It allows African Americans to reconstruct families separated by cell, identify living relatives across states, regions, and continents. Those of you who have taken the DNA, you didn't know you had so many cousins who shared DNA with you. It confirms oral history long dismissed as just stories, and it moves beyond the myth that slavery severed all ties. And let me say this clearly, DNA does not erase slavery, but it refuses to let slavery define the beginning of our story. There's a scripture in Genesis that says that the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. We are formed bodies carrying breath and memory. DNA does not tell us everything, but it does tell us enough. It confirms and also it challenges the lies. It breaks us beyond the brick walls, the moments when research used to stop and we were scratching our heads just trying to figure out how do we get back to the next generation. I remember the days when the brick walls often felt permanent, but now with DNA, it turns brick walls into bridges. A surname match reveals a formerly slave family living on the same land for generations, a shared ancestor across multiple plantations, a network of cousins telling the same story from different directions. And that's what Stephanie was really trying to show you in her presentation. What felt like loss becomes lineage. What felt like isolation becomes community. And now what feels like silence becomes a song. DNA allows us to reframe African-American family history, not the story of our absence and the inability to find our relatives, but as a story of survival and continuity. What was taken from the page, what cannot be found in the archives and books and in records, is now restored through the blood. One of the most powerful and delicate outcomes of DNA testing, of course, and we'll get to that in a minute, has to do with the recovery of African origins. I've been doing DNA testing now for about 12 or 13 years. And it has gotten so that family members run when they see me coming. Because usually
They give it up. I spit it
I'm carrying a kit. And I like it now because the kits used to be in larger boxes. You remember that? Now I can hide the kit. When it's time to say, I'm ready for you to spit. This is a smidgen
Wow.
of all of the family members, both on my mother and father's side, that I have tested. And I tell you, it has been glorious, waiting in anticipation for the results to come back and spending hours upon hours going through their matches, utilizing the tools that and this is before they did through lines, you know, which helps, and it primarily matches the tree, but just trying to figure out, you know, not only, well, I know how we're related, but what are all of the other people who are related on that same line that I don't know anything about at all? We pull up our ancestry and we explore, and it appears that ancestry is finally modernizing and making sure that we are getting our money's worth with that. And of course, the ethnicity estimate changes over time because the more they sample others and the more they run our tests through, the more people we are connected. And so sometimes you'll see that your African ancestry, the countries and places, sometimes the populated number decreases. In some areas, it increases. And then also your European line as well. I started out some years ago taking the African ancestry test, wanting to support them as well. And this particular one connected me to the Bamileke people of Cameroon. But then later, you know, I learned that I was much more than just one ethnic group in Africa. We are a melting pot, a pot of gumbo. We are connected to so many different ethnic groups. So now one of the things that I do when I go to Africa, which I go every year, in fact, I'm going this summer, I'm gonna end my presentation with that trip, to invite you who have always wanted to go to the west coast of Africa to join me in. Reverend Lemons is going as well. One of the most powerful outcomes of DNA testing is recovery of African origin. DNA might give you connection to a country, and now my heritage used to break it down so that you would even know the level of the ethnic group as well. So when I go now to West Africa, I take DNA kits with me. And typically I test, and let me tell you about this group here. The one to the left, Nana, he was our tour guide. The second one was selling, you know, stuff outside of the hotel. The third one was part of our naming ceremony, because when you go to Ghana, you're going to go through the naming ceremony. And then the fourth one was our bus driver. And they all come from various different ethnic groups in Ghana as well. I test them because what I want to do is when their results come, I want to match them with an American cousin, someone who has no clue or idea that they are a match, a cousin, a DNA cousin to these particular individuals. And so I've tested about 20 or 30 over the last 10 years. And so when Ancestry put the DNA test for sale for $29, any y'all? I'm trying to buy every one. This is my passion. This is what I enjoy doing, trying to connect people, trying to understand the context, knowing that we come from multiple Africans and villages and nations. We're not a single story. Our ancestry reflects trade, migration, empire, and resilience. Our identity is not diminished by the complexity of it. It is enriched by it. So DNA helps us to move beyond vague language like we are from Africa. Now we can say kind of where we are from and what particular area we are from. And as you are going through your matches and putting in keywords, you're discovering yourself that you have some who have tested as well. In doing all of this, it restores dignity because identity grounded in truth is more powerful than identity built on myths. But sometimes new narratives disrupt old stories. DNA testing creates a new narrative, and it may not be the one that you have always known. Here is the hard truth. DNA does not lie.
That's right.
I don't care what your mama said. I don't care what your grandmama said. I don't care what your great aunt said. DNA does not lie. It points you towards truth. But truth is not always comfortable. People enter DNA testing sometimes looking for ancestry. Many find mothers and fathers, known and unknown siblings, and secrets guarded for generations. That's why I plainly say DNA testing is not for the faint and hard. There are a couple of examples I want to share with you quickly about a reveal with some family members that I was testing. We discovered in the test that one of the ancestors, one of the relatives, had a daughter while serving in the Navy. And a first cousin match appeared with that particular tester. And the tester and I both knew the first cousins. Now, who are you? And wait a minute, you are a first cousin? And so what does this mean? Well, it didn't take long to figure that out, okay? My cousin's grandfather had served in the Navy in 1944 and 45. The newly revealed cousin's mother was born in Los Angeles, which is outside of the base where he served. And we had not heard that story, and I'm not even sure that the tester's father even knew anything about it. But the DNA does not lie. Another one of my family members that tested, we began to see a different pattern between her test and her siblings' test. And then we finally came to the conclusion that the siblings did not share the same father. But y'all know me. I found that father. He was living just a few doors down where the family was living. I found descendants on Facebook. I looked at their pictures, and all of them had those high red gums, just like this particular relative. The DNA does not lie. It reframes reality, but enter into it cautiously. Because your goal and desire, even though you may be excited to find it, may not transpire or transmit the very same way to the person who is the recipient of that information.
Yeah.
DNA is here to stay, and I'm grateful for it. I'm thankful for it. That not only now it aids our research, but it gives us purpose and understanding. It gives us facts. DNA asks important questions. And with this knowledge comes responsibility. What do you do with what you learn? How do you honor the ancestors once identified? How do we preserve these discoveries for future generations? Because DNA without interpretation is just data. DNA without story becomes history, and history without purpose, and history with purpose becomes healing. We're not just consumers of DNA tests and consumers of ancestry. We are the stewards of memory. We stand between ancestors who were denied voice and descendants who deserve the truth. DNA reminds us that archives matter, churches matter, families matter, and that we matter as keepers of that history. And so, as I prepare to conclude my presentation and open up for questions, I want to share a few more closing slides, because I just simply marvel at the technology now, that it is possible that not only will DNA tell me that my ancestors from West Africa, we know that, but that I'm able to now look at it and break it down to some of the various ethnic groups, the Yoruba, or Yoruba, the Akans, the Mende, the Asans, the Tikar, and the Melikes, and other ethnic groups. We come from a lot of people. There is a site, some of you may have used it, called Living DNA. Have any of you used Living DNA? So you used to be able to load your raw DNA to the site, and I haven't used it in a while, so I'm not sure if you can still do it. But you used to be able to upload your raw DNA from ancestors. You all know how to download your DNA? Okay. And then load it up, and then it will break your DNA down even further. And this is one that I stare at often, to know that I come from so many wonderful groups of ethnic groups out of Africa. Now, all y'all talking about your grandmama was a Cherokee Indian. Your great-grandmama, stop it, please. Stop that madness. Stop it. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have 0.5% of Native American ancestry. Some of you all do. But these are part of those stories that have been passed down. And what I don't understand is how we glorify so much the fact that we have Native American ancestry and not the African ancestry. And what you all are confusing as Native American ancestry is really the European ancestry that many of you have in your family. And all of the research that I've done, particularly the tests, probably just a third of them had some inkling or sampling of some Native American ancestry. I'm not saying that that is not the case, but let us be truthful and honest with the fact that all of us do not have Indian and Native American ancestry flowing through our veins. And I'm sorry to disappoint some of you, and some of you gonna still continue to tell that lie even after I leave and we leave, you know, but DNA wants us to be truthful in this matter. Now, how many of you have proven through DNA that you do have, and I'll even take 0.5%, some Native American ancestry. Okay. 2 years ago, everybody's hands would have been up. So thank you for being honest in that. There's a lot of support for DNA testing, as you all know, a lot of Facebook groups and support groups that will help you to navigate and understand. No, you may not be a whiz like Stephanie Powers and able to break it down, because it is a science, but it is fairly easy to follow as you're going through and doing share matches, and you're coming up and seeing names of people that you don't know, but they all match the same line of people. That is the DNA speaking and talking. We watch shows like Finding Our Roots and Who Do You Think You Are? I love that show. Genealogy Road shows and all of these. And now on Facebook, they have a group, Help Me Find My Relative. And I mean, these are amateurs doing some tremendous work. People are telling a fragment of a story, and you'd be surprised. People who are looking and scrolling through Facebook and are part of that group are able to say, I went to high school with this person, or my mother knew that person. So there are all kinds of support groups, wonderful books during this month. I know we have Audible. I love Audible. I listen to Audible because I drive, but there's some wonderful books that will help to feed and support our thirst, collecting family artifacts. You're very fortunate if you have artifacts that have been passed down from family members. This lamp, I remember this lamp in my grandmother's home back in the 1960s. And a few years ago, when my 90-plus-year-old uncle, he's 96 now, moved in with my first cousin, I was in the garage and there were 2 lamps just sitting there. They're not sitting there any longer. Said, how am I going to get this lamp back to Atlanta? But we worked it out and got it back. And then I gave my niece one of the lamps so she would have one and I would have one. This beautiful hand-carved case that was done by my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother's reading glasses, small cherished mementos that we have. How many of you have an ancestral wall, in your home? Pictures of your family that surround and create an atmosphere as well. And how many of you have been to Africa? Excellent. Excellent. How many of you have not been? That's the question. How many of you want to go eventually? That's what I want to see. So every year, for the last probably 10 years or so, I've been taking groups to Ghana, to the west coast of Africa. And so this year we're doing I've got 2 trips. At the end of May, we're going to 4 West African countries. We're going to fly into the Ivory Coast, fly into Abidjan, and then we're going to spend time in Abidjan. We're going to take the Atlantic slave coast route, because all of these cities are on the West African coast, the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to go from Abidjan to Ghana, to Accra. Then we're going to Togo, and then we're going to end up in Benin. And we're going to fly out of Benin. And we're trying to get there before that man up in D.C. Shuts it down. But we should be okay. I was there last October as well. But if you're interested in learning more about the trips, and then in June, I'm going to Ghana. We're doing a 10-day trip to Ghana. So I'll be there at the end of May and then also the end of June. But my email address is Skip Mason, Vanishing Black Atlanta. I'm also on Facebook as well. And if you want to give me your email, write it out on a little sheet of paper or something, and I'll be happy to send you some information about that. As I conclude, your DNA survived ships, whips, laws, and lies. It crossed oceans, endured auctions, outlived erasure, and now it speaks. Not to trap us in the past, but to liberate our understanding of it. We're not people without history, no matter what they try to do. They can shut down museums. They can remove historic plaques off of walls and exhibits. But our people still speak. We're people whose history survived, encoded within us. My brothers and my sisters, you are not the end of the line. You are the proof that the line endured. Keep on digging, keep on researching. Thank you very much. I think I may have a few minutes for questions, and I'll be happy to answer. Yes, please.
One question, when the grades that you saw that they were redetermined,
Yeah.
what year was that?
Yes, ma'am.
About?
It must have been about 1997
97.
in Bibb County, Macon, Georgia.
Okay, and then one quick question about the 4 men that you showed.
Yes.
Getting tested. What has been the results in regards to making a connection with,
Yeah, I've been very successful because, I mean, we all are kind of the same. We just spend more time than we should. I mean, when you can pull up Ancestry on your phone while you're in the bed, on your phone, and you can start scrolling through and looking. And so with the results, I would just scroll through and see if I recognize anybody's name first. Secondly, I would take maybe 5 names and see if I can find them on Facebook, and inbox them and say to them, I think I have a match for you and I've had good success for the most part from it. And I've had a couple who have even connected, not in person, but they've talked and stayed in touch, because it is amazing. And if you've gone to Africa, as many of you have gone, you walk through the streets of Africa, you see folks look just like that. And then many of them will come up to you and they can easily identify where you're from, what ethnic group you're a part of. They can look at you and tell, all of these wonderful things about you. Yeah. Yes, question?
No, I was just saying that you did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Your ancestry tree private or public?
So I made it private. Because my cousins were stealing off my tree. I felt some kind of, but what I felt some kind of way, they were taking pictures and then talking about, they posted the pictures and that kind of thing. Everybody wants to see my tree, they can see it. I make it. I was having a moment at that time, The nerve of them, all of the research that I've done, I don't mind sharing and linking, but don't try to act like you did all of this. That's all I'm saying, that's all. Yes.
Okay, so can I write you?
Yeah, just tell me, I'll send you the link to it. Are we related?
Maybe I'm Bamoon from 𝘔𝘈, Cameroon.
Cameroon, okay. Yeah.
And 𝘔𝘈 and 𝘠𝑦𝑐𝑎 are all related.
Just send me a note and I'll be happy to share it with you. Yes, and then I'll get it to you.
All right, so how can I find out? When your profile flashed by, I was on my phone checking to see.
Yeah.
So, and my family matches several of your kids.
Really? Okay.
Both sides.
Where's your family from?
My dad was born in Geneva, Alabama,
Okay.
in Cobb County. My mom was born in Orville, outside of Selma.
Okay, Alabama, yeah. Yeah.
So how can I find out who those?
Can you just inbox me through Ancestry?
Okay.
You should be able to
I can
do that and give me the initials.
Okay.
Because what I realize is that if somebody else is looking, and it'll only give the initials and not the names. Okay, and so give me the initials, because I got 2 people I got to respond back to. Somebody said they sent me a message in October. I don't remember it, but I'm gonna respond. Let me get her and then I'll come back. Yes, Dr. Yolanda?
Yes.
This ain't the church. I wouldn't buy, look. You're right. But this was not the venue. Now, you know, it doesn't take but a minute for me to get jacked up and throw script. I did one scripture. Yeah, but, yeah. Okay. Okay.
And it had the word Yahweh.
Oh, wow.
Want to know if you have heard that.
Yeah, of course, I've heard it. I've read it as well, you know, and I mean, those of us who are spiritual, those of us who are religious and Christian, we know that our DNA comes from some source. And we know what that source is, you know. Yeah. But that's a good question. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
When those skeletons fall out of your closet, as they will, and you find out that both don't have the same father or
Yeah.
the same mother,
Yeah.
you tactfully and respectfully handle that information. Do you just?
So we just
keep it
started talking about God a few minutes ago. First, you pray first and do the pros and cons of how this information will change the narrative that they already know. Because if it has not been shared with them prior to, they're going to be stunned. Okay, they probably won't believe you. And then when it finally sets in, you know, all kinds of questions. Well, why did my mother not tell me? Or why did someone not tell me, you know, the truth? So some things we have to hold on to ourselves. You got to really weigh, you know, what is the outcome if I share this information? Because it can disrupt and destroy families. Some of y'all on them Facebook groups where people are trying to wrestle with DNA discoveries, and they reached out to the man who is their biological dad, and he's been married, and he has family, and the kids don't want anything to do with it, and they block them. So that's not always the case, but for the most part, you have to tread very carefully with the newfound information. Yes.
Yes, I just want to know, I did Ancestry in 2023.
Yes.
And it said that I had 1% indigenous. And
Okay.
then when I went back last year, it was no longer there and it had added something else. I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out what makes it do that.
So normally, when you fall into that 1% testing, you know, at the time, it may have picked up a hit sample, depends on what their database is right now. You know, because their databases, I'm finding out that these DNA testing companies' databases are changing rapidly. You see that with Ancestry, you always get new updates. You know, that they've updated your geographical locations and your particular ties, you know, so that number is constantly changing. And I think, yes, okay. Yes, go ahead, young man.
I have a compliment for you. You have done an outstanding job with this presentation. I think I like you best more than anyone else. Good job. It's the best job.
Bless your heart. What's your name? What's your name? Emmanuel with an I. How old are you?
10.
You're going places. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you so much. Yes. My head is this big, y'all. Children don't lie, y'all lie. Children don't lie. Thank you. Okay, I got a question here.
So I'll bet.
Yeah.
Have you chance to meet someone who mentioned, or you know the way the next step? So that's to a point where I went to the 1860s.
Yeah.
How can I go farther into without actually traveling?
You take the DNA test, so you probably have matches there. You know, I can look at you I mean, you just have the facial structure, the beautiful skin. You know, you're calling Africa's name right now. You really, and I know you get that often. And so you probably just have to take time and go through some of your matches, put in the search engine, Ghana, put Senegal, put Africa, just see what, see what pops up. And then if you get some matches, you can, and look at some folks, not all, have family trees. So if you open up the family tree and you see that they have, because we're finding, I don't know what many of you in terms of, I got a lot of matches in Puerto Rico and in Cuba as well. And all it is telling me is showing me the migration coming from Africa, and these ships are stopping off. I just came back from Cartagena, Colombia, and they have one of the oldest towns where Africans settled there. I took some DNA kits with me there as well. So we're all over the place. I mean, and if you populate, is that Maryland? I've seen you in 100 years. Her sweet mama was our nurse at Morris Brown, and I graduated 44 years ago from Morris Brown. See, friends, my West Side folks, let me stop calling. Is that you, Margaret? No, that's not you. Yeah, that Margaret in front of you. Right here with the gray hair. That's not Margaret Prentice. Let me put my Dollar Tree readers on. You like someone at a church that I grew up in as well. But it's good to see you. Good to see you as well. Couple more questions.
So trip in May that's going on the coast.
Yes.
How do we get that information?
Give me your email address. Write it out. I'll send you that information. And you're in a good time to go. It's a wonderful trip. And you get 4 countries, on one trip. Now we're gonna be on that bus a while, but it's just an amazing. Yeah.
That's my DNA.
Is
And
it?
me and my family plan to do it, but my son is having a baby.
Oh, wow.
Pull us off, but that would be perfect.
Reverend Perry Lemon in front of you, she's going with, we have about almost 30 people going so far. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Getting an iconic picture or getting any picture, you usually have about a 30-second window. Would you be so kind as to pull up the slide of the article from the AJC?
I sure will.
So I can take your picture with Connie underneath.
I'll be happy to do that.
Get her picture too. Yeah, Connie.
Come on up, Miss Connie.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Oh, underneath your name.
Let me get it as well.
It has lasted the test of the director.
Okay. Can you take this for me, please?
You need a professional one that's everything, so that you give it her.
Yes.
So I'm gonna stand on this side with you. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay. Can you get it? Oh, then she wants you to point? Okay.
I'm gonna get the article too.
Push your hand up as high as you can so they can, yeah, there you go.
Look at the camera.
Okay, she can flex for a couple of seconds.
And then I'm gonna get on this side near me. And I'm gonna point.
Yeah, we all need more.
Connie needs to look this way.
And I want somebody to say he has not aged at all. Y'all heard Emmanuel.
Amanda said he does.
Come on, Emmanuel.
Absolutely.
All right, come on.
See this little
Yeah, right here.
Take your mask down, Amanda.
Take it back. Awesome. Thank you. That's it on the floor. Okay, all right.
And everyone, thank you very, very much. Let's hear it again, please. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.